My name is Erin. My colleagues in admissions that are with me today are Jenny, Cynthia, Terry, and Cheryl. So you'll see their names pop up in the chat. And we also have some lovely guests from financial aid. I'm going to pass the mic off to them and let them introduce themselves. So Jessica, I'm going to hand things off to you.
Thank you, Erin. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Moore, and I'm a financial aid administrator here at UCSC. I've been a financial aid administrator for about 20 years now. Hold on, sorry. My screen share is giving me trouble. I'm sorry.
And I'll introduce myself as well. My name is David Nelson, and I am a packaging advisor here at the UCSC Financial Aid Office. And I have been with the office for just over 2 years.
So first I wanted to say that this year has presented us with a lot of challenges, particularly with the implementation of the new FAFSA process. It hasn't been as seamless as we had anticipated. But today we're kind of here to reassure you that our office is working diligently to address these obstacles and ensure that we can provide financial aid offers to all admitted students. My colleague David Nelson, he introduced himself. He's going to assist with the chat today. He's going to try to address common themes, and we will have question and answer at the end. So yeah, let's jump into our agenda. We have a lot of content for you today. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is how to pay for college. How do you apply for financial aid, which I hope most of you have already. We're going to talk about the new terminology for the FAFSA and the California DREAM application, because a lot of that has changed. We're going to talk about how to prepare to apply for financial aid, how much financial aid you can receive, the 24-25 FAFSA form, and unusual and special circumstances. And then, like I said, we're going to try to leave time for questions. So to get started, how do we pay for college? So there are several ways to pay for college, including financial aid and family support. The University of California's financing model is it's a partnership. It's a partnership through financial aid, which is funding available through the state, federal, university, and private sources. And it's a partnership with the family. So funding that comes from family gifts, personal savings, college savings accounts, etc. So those two things make up your how you can pay for college. So there's basically two different types of financial aid. There's gift aid, which is free money. And when we say free money, means you don't need to repay it. It's free money. It includes grants, scholarships, and other benefits, such as veterans benefits. And then there's non-gift aid, which must be repaid or earned. And that includes loans and work study. We also have internship and experiential learning awards. Those are non-gift aid, it's more like merit. So those are good opportunities as well. So our grant programs, the ones that come from the federal government through the FAFSA are the federal Pell Grant, and it's up to $73.95. And then there's a federal supplemental educational opportunity grant. The acronym is SEOG, and that's up to $3,000. Now for the state grants, you use the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application to apply for it, but the money is coming from the state, not the federal government. And the state grants are the Cal Grant A program, Cal Grant B, Middle Class Scholarship, and Students with Dependents. That's for if you're a student and you're a parent. And then UCSC has institutional aid as well. We have the UC Santa Cruz grant, and that amount varies. We have the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan that covers tuition and fees for families who make less than $80,000 a year. This is a single award, right? So you can't receive two tuition paying awards. So if you receive Cal Grant that's paying your tuition, you don't receive Blue and Gold. It's only if you don't have another tuition paying award that you qualify for Blue and Gold. And then we provide student parents with the same award as the state if they don't qualify for this state grant. Then we have our loan programs. So the federal loan program through the FAFSA, you're eligible for a subsidized student loan. The interest is subsidized while you're in school, so you're not accruing any interest until after you graduate. The unsubsidized student loan, it does accrue interest while you're in school. It's not as scary as interest as like a credit card. So a credit card interest accrues on interest and it capitalizes. On student loans, it doesn't work that way. So the interest is a lot more manageable on federal student loans. And then there's the federal Parent Plus loan that your parents can apply for, and it's based on their credit. From the state of California, for the California Dream Act application, we have the California Dream Loan, and interest is also subsidized while in school. And UCSC provides a university loan, also interest-free while you're in school. So those are the federal, state, and university loan programs that we have available. Other aid programs from the federal government, we have work study, federal work study, and there's veterans benefits. From the state, there's the Cal vet fee waiver. That's for a dependent of a veteran, basically gets their California state fees waived. And there's Chafee grant for foster youth, former foster youth. The UCSC scholarships, the Campus Merit Scholarship is $8,000 for 4 years, or sorry, 2 years for transfer. Regent Scholarship is $20,000. Dean's Award can be from $12,000 to $40,000. The Dean's Award is for non-California residents. And then there's external scholarships, private and outside scholarships. We have some other scholarships and emergency awards. One of our biggest ones is the Peaster Scholarship. That is for our 12 community colleges, surrounding community colleges, and you apply at your community college. For reentry students, if you are reentering and you're 24 years or older, we have a reentry scholarship for about $1,500 to $5,000. There's a veteran scholarship for $1,000. Undocumented career fund, this is like internships, research, entrepreneurship, emergency funds. For parenting students, we have childcare funding. And then we have emergency awards too. So if you are here and you experience some kind of financial emergency, the Renaissance and Underground Scholars for foster youth or formerly incarcerated students. We have a slug support office that operates out of the Dean of Students office, who are there to help students who, like I said, have financial emergencies while we're here. And then we have the Educational Opportunity Program. So EOP is more of academic support than a financial support, but they still have some of that emergency funding. Now the big question, how much does it cost to attend college? So in your cost of attendance, you have two elements. You have your direct costs. These are the costs that are going to be on your bill. This is what you have to pay as a bill, which is tuition and fees, housing if you're living on campus, and health insurance if you don't get a waiver to waive the health insurance. And then you have indirect costs. So these are costs that you're going to have just by being a student, but that the university is not billing you for. So books and supplies, transportation, personal expenses. When you think of personal expenses, I think, I moved from LA 20 years ago and I did not have a proper jacket. I was like, when you move to Santa Cruz, you definitely need a jacket. It's really cold here in the winter. But just little things, shampoo, whatever you need, you have personal expenses, but you're not being billed by the university, but those are included in your total cost of attendance. So here is the cost of attendance, and some of this is estimated and some of this is your direct bill cost. So tuition and fees is about $16,000 for next year. Living expenses, $19,950. This is an estimate. So when you look at the housing rates on the UCSC website, your living expenses might be less or they might be more depending on what type of room, what type of meal plan you choose. And then we have an estimate for books, supplies, equipment, transportation, miscellaneous personal expenses, campus health insurance. So for a total California resident budget, we're going to provide funding to cover the cost of attendance for $44,277. And that includes your direct costs and your indirect costs. If you're a non-California resident, you're coming from out of state, you're looking at more like 78,000. And for off-campus, it's slightly, this is the first year ever off-campus has been slightly more than on-campus. And that's because the housing market in Santa Cruz, actually the housing market all over California has significantly increased. So your cost is actually a little bit higher to live off campus. But again, it depends on what your rent is. Your rent might be more or less than what's estimated in our budget. So that's kind of a rundown on cost of attendance. On our website, you can view this in more detail. And if you have any questions, please contact our office and we can go through the cost of attendance more in detail. So how do you apply for financial aid? I really hope that everybody interested in financial aid has already applied, but if you haven't, you can submit your financial aid application. It was due this year, May 2nd, which was what, yesterday? But that is the state deadline. So that's more for Cal Grant, middle class scholarship. You can apply for financial aid anytime in the academic year, but May 2nd is the deadline for state. And then DREAM applicants apply at dream.csac.ca.gov. And then you want to make sure that your community college that you transferred from sent your GPA verification to the California Student Aid Commission. So if you have questions about what application you should complete, the FAFSA application requirements, you need to be a US citizen or eligible non-citizen. An eligible non-citizen is defined as permanent residents, refugees, asylees, T visa holders. You have to graduate high school or have a GED, and you're enrolled in an eligible degree certificate program, which UC Santa Cruz is, and a valid social security number. If you don't fall into that, you want to look at the DREAM Act application requirements. So if you don't have a social security number, or you have a social security number through deferred action, DACA, or have an ITIN, you must be eligible for AB 540, which is the assembly bill that allows you to pay in-state tuition. And same thing, you have to have graduated from a California high school or attained a GED, register, be currently enrolled at an accredited institution, and you can't hold a valid non-immigrant visa. So if you're on I think it's a J visa where your parents are here on a visa working, you're not eligible for the California DREAM Act, so you can't have a valid visa. We want to talk a little bit about the new terminology, because you are transfer students, you've probably applied for financial aid before, and the terminology has changed significantly. So what used to be the expected family contribution is now the Student Aid Index, SAI. And this is actually more reflective of what the EFC was. The EFC was never like a number that you had to pay, or it was more of an index. So now they've renamed it to show that. And then we use your SAI to determine what types of aid you're eligible for. In the past, we called it household size. It's now called family size. Anyone asked to provide information on the FAFSA or DREAM Act application is now called a contributor. So we used to say, you know, who's your parent that is supposed to be on the FAFSA? Now it's who's your contributor. Dependency status is now student personal circumstances. So you may have noticed when you were filling out the FAFSA, if you indicated that you had personal circumstances, that it used to be referred to as dependency status. The IRS data retrieval tool, DRT, that in the past was where you retrieve the data directly from the IRS onto your FAFSA. Now it's a direct data exchange. So the IRS is now populating directly on the FAFSA instead of sending the tax information to Department of Education. Federal tax information is now FTI, and the student aid report that you used to get after you completed the FAFSA is now called FAFSA submission summary. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about who is not a contributor. So a widowed step-parent, aunts or uncles, foster parents, grandparents, older brothers or sisters, or legal guardians. Only your biological or adoptive parents are the ones who are a contributor. So when you're preparing to apply, there's just a few things you need to know. So for FAFSA applicants, the contributor's legal name, social security number, birthday, and email address to invite them to complete their portion on the form. It's really important that you have this exactly right because it's tied to their FSA ID, which they need in order to contribute to your FAFSA. All contributors provide tax and financial information on the application, and all contributors must provide consent to have their federal tax information transferred directly from the IRS to the FAFSA. So this is an interesting one because they say you must provide consent, but consent is a word that you can't say someone has to or doesn't. But if they don't provide consent, you're not eligible for aid. So that's where Department of Ed kind of put the requirement. Oh yeah, and it says right here, if consent not provided, all contributors, student is not eligible for aid. Okay, we just got this update 4/29. So this whole process, students with mixed status families, so either one or both of their parents don't have a social security number, we're having extreme issues being able to complete the FAFSA. So as of 4/29, the Department of Education is temporarily allowing individuals without a social security number to enter and complete the 24-25 FAFSA. Students and contributors without a social security number must continue to manually enter their tax information. So because they can't do a direct data exchange with the IRS, the contributor has to manually enter it. The department says these changes should significantly streamline the application process for students who have contributors without a social security number. The department continues to address known issues impacting applicant experience as outlined in the technical alerts. So we know how difficult this has been for entering students and our own continuing students, and we're doing what we can to help students get these applications submitted. So if you have a mixed status family and you're still having difficulties submitting the FAFSA, please contact our office and we'll walk you through it. So for the California DREAM Act applicants, some things you need to know. You need, well, of course, a laptop or a computer. And you need your contributors' 2022 federal tax return and 2022 W-2s. Because you can't import that from the IRS, you're going to need to get the information somewhere. So having those taxes on file or in front of you will help. And then any records of child support received, current balance of cash savings checking, net worth of investments, and the colleges that you would like to add. And if you haven't added our school code yet, it's 001321. Some other things, parent, student, biographical data, including social security numbers, ITINs, birth dates, etc., addresses, they have to match exactly for the verification of identity. So it's just important that you have that information in front of you. Parent, student email addresses, username and passwords. Parents will be able to electronically sign the California DREAM Act by confirming the student's biodemo data. So in the past, they couldn't electronically sign it. So that has been an improvement this year. If the parent is not present to sign the application, the student has the option to provide parent with a link to an external signature page to sign electronically at a later time. That's also a nice feature that at least they give you another option to have your parent sign. We want to talk a little bit about dependency and being an independent student. We get a lot of questions about this. So to be considered independent for financial aid purposes, you need to be at least 24 years old. these are or statements. At least 24 years old, married, someone with legal dependents other than a spouse or a veteran. So like if you're taking care of a younger sibling and your parents aren't involved, that could be a legal dependent. A veteran, a member of the armed forces, orphan, ward of the court, emancipated minor, or someone who is homeless or at risk of being homeless. So once you apply and we get the information, how much financial aid will you receive? So this SAI, the Student Aid Index, will be used by our office to determine your eligibility. Your financial aid offer will be designed to meet your financial need, and financial need is what we talked about earlier with the cost of attendance. Financial aid offers may be comprised of grants, loans, and work study depending on your financial needs. So that's a little bit when we talked about the different types of aid. We're going to use all the aid from all those sources, federal, state, and institutional funding, to make you a financial aid package. So the formula to determine need-based eligibility is pretty simple. It's the cost of attendance minus your student aid index equals your financial need for need-based financial aid. And need-based financial aid includes all grants, scholarships, and subsidized loans are considered need-based financial aid. So unusual and special circumstances. Let's talk a little bit about this. So unusual circumstances. So if you're unable to provide your parents information on the FAFSA because you have unusual circumstances, this one says it includes these things, but this is not all inclusive. There's other situations that are unusual circumstances, but in general, Department of Ed says human trafficking, legal refugee or asylum status, parental abandonment or estrangement, student or parental incarceration, and homeless youth. Unusual circumstances do not include parent refusal to contribute. Parents will not provide information on the FAFSA or for FAFSA verification. Parents do not claim the student as a dependent for income tax purposes. Student does not live with parents. Student demonstrates total self-sufficiency. So we get that question a lot, you know, what if my parents don't claim me? What if I don't live with them? I take care of myself. This is Department of Ed says until you're 24, married, have a child, are a veteran, your parents are responsible for providing information on the financial aid application. And that's kind of been a hard line for ever, basically. There's other special circumstances in relation to the income. So the base year income on your FAFSA or California Dream application is from 2022. That was 2 years ago. So we know that in 2 years, a lot of things can change. So if from the time from 2022 to now, there's a recent loss or reduction of income, including but not limited to loss of employment, reduction in pay, death of a parent or spouse, and reduction or loss of child support, divorce or separation, one-time only income, high medical and dental, impacted by a natural disaster, private K through 12 tuition paid after financial aid. So this is like if you have siblings that are in K through 12 private school that your parents are paying, we can make adjustments for that to your parents' income. And again, this is not all inclusive. There's other things that can affect your family's income, but if there's any change in the family's income from 22 to now, we would want you to submit an appeal. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about where to find the appeals. We also have cost of attendance appeals. So that standard cost of attendance that I showed you, if your costs exceed that standard, then you would want to do an appeal and say, hey, my costs are much higher than what the standard is. And that could be your rent or mortgage, transportation, computer, medical, dental, or vision. Like if you need additional books or course fees, and childcare expenses for student parents. And again, not an all-inclusive list. Anytime where you feel like you don't have enough to cover your expenses, you can always come talk to us and we can look at your cost of attendance. So next steps, what happens next? Okay, so your financial aid application will be made available to the schools you selected on your application. Most financial aid offices will provide you with a conditional aid offer. So here at UC Santa Cruz, we just released our first batch of conditional aid offers yesterday. We're rolling them out, so I hope maybe some of you have received one or will be receiving one very soon. We're giving you this conditional aid offer so that you have an idea of what type of financial aid you're going to receive so that you can make your decision on which school you want to choose. Once you submit your intent to register, then we're going to work on producing your official financial aid offer. And what you want to do is compare the offers to make your selection. If you're selected for verification, submit the required documents to the school that you choose to attend. So at UCSC, we have just processed all the FAFSAs and we're working on the California Dream Act application right now, but you may have received a message that there's verification documents. So just get those in as soon as you can. And then once we offer you your aid package, if it includes loans that you accept, you need to complete loan requirements. And we'll walk you through that process by placing items on your to-do list so you'll know what to do. You'll want to explore payment plan options and apply for work study and other on-campus jobs if you want to utilize that. We have some resources for you. So our financialaid.ucsc.edu, we put a lot of, we try to be very inclusive and put all the information that we can on our website. When we were talking about appeals, we have a whole appeals section that goes through everything I talked about with the appeals from unusual circumstances to the cost of attendance appeals. Any appeals that you would need to submit are right here. And then the federal student aid ID setup page, some students are still having a hard time with that, so we put that link here. And that was it. I'm so happy. That was a lot of content. So I think David and I are ready to take some questions. One last thing, here's our email if you want to email us. But we have Zoom advising available from 10 to 1 every day. And we have our phone line open from 1 to 4 and our front desk. So please, if you have any questions about financial aid or you want to walk through any of this process, please come see us through those communication channels.
Thanks so much, Jessica and David, for answering questions. I'm happy to lobby some to you to answer live, and then David, feel free to chime in as well. But we have one question saying, what if I don't have living parents to contribute to my FAFSA?
So on the application, you would be considered an orphan because you don't have living parents anymore. So you would mark that option when it asks you about your dependency status questions. You're going to say, I'm an orphan.
Thanks, Jessica. David, did you have one? Thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm still just reacting to the questions on the Q&A.
No problem. Jessica, could you elaborate on this question? So someone was saying, could you clarify, I don't have to be married to be considered an independent student, correct? And they were asking about maybe if you could expand on like how to be considered.
Those were or statements. So let's say you are at least 24 years old, you're independent because you're 24 years old, or you have children, then you're independent based on that. But if all of the other questions are no, but you're married, then you're an independent student because you're married. So those weren't and things, they're or.
That's great. Great clarification. Let's see. Someone asked if they need to change something on their FAFSA, is that something they would contact you about? If something's
Yeah,
changed?
so the FAFSA has functionality, so when you log into your account and you access your existing form, there's a link and it says make corrections, and then you can go in there and make corrections. Yeah, but you only want to do that to correct data if it's like an appeal situation where maybe your family's income has changed or you have high medical costs or something like that, then you want to contact us through the appeal process so we can make that professional judgment to change the data elements on your FAFSA.
Great. Someone asked, when is the last day to expect financial aid? I'm guessing, you know, maybe that means like for the rollouts that you were talking about, is the date that people
So
should
there's,
yeah.
yeah, so we're rolling them out right now. We're trying to get everybody who has a valid application on file, a conditional aid offer by May 15th. I know that's cutting it like to the wire, but we have a net price calculator. It's a you can get a very accurate estimate by putting in your student aid index from the FAFSA on our website. So if you go under prospective students on our website and get an aid estimate, is very, very accurate because that has our funding formulas built into it. So as long as the information you put in, so you can technically get an estimate right now. But we are working as hard as we can to get these offers out before May 15th because, oh, sorry, your transfer, June 1st. Sorry. Okay, by June 1st.
Yeah. No,
But we're
yeah,
doing
that's
transfer
fine.
students right now. We're doing everybody, all entering students.
Mhm.
So essentially, hopefully you get it by May 15th, and then you have at least 15 days before you have to submit your intent to register.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so for freshman applicants, so you all know, May 15th is when they need to let us know that they're accepting their admissions offer, but for you all as transfer students, that's June 1st. So let's see. Someone asked, am I considered independent if I turn 24 this year? My parents did not have to submit info for my FAFSA.
David, do you know the year or it's like January 1st of
20. Sorry, could you repeat the question? I was typing. Yeah, I'm just reading questions and typing.
the independent status for date of birth.
January 1st of 2020. No, of 2000. Because last year it was 1999, January 1st, I believe.
So if you're born after January 1st, 2000, then you're considered independent.
Thank you. Someone asked, how does financial aid work if we want to take classes starting in the summer? So before fall courses start.
That is a great question. So you need to file 2 applications. You need to file the 23-24 application and the 24-25. You may already have a 23-24 application from your community college if you came straight from a community college and received financial aid. In that case, you would just need to add UCSC to your 23-24 FAFSA. If you don't have a 23-24 FAFSA, do that as soon as possible if you're considering summer, because the deadline for the 23-24 FAFSA is June 30th. So that's important to get it done as soon as possible. And then the types of funding that are available for summer for incoming students on our website, we have all of the eligibility requirements and a summer grant calculator that you can use to determine how much grant you might be eligible for the summer session. But the most important thing is that 23-24 FAFSA.
Great, thank you. We have a couple questions. I'll try to summarize them. I think students are just asking, you know, how will we know we got our financial aid offer from you at UCSC? You know, is it going to be a physical letter? Where do we find it?
We haven't done physical letters in a long
Yeah.
time, but we will send you an email that your conditional aid offer has been posted on your student portals. So hopefully you all have had access to the student portal. It's gonna be under the financial aid section, and everything on it is gonna say conditional, 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 because they're not official until you submit your intent to register.
Great. Someone asked, or someone said that they submitted their FAFSA. Do they need to?
I think I saw that question. Do you have to add UCSC? Well, if UCSC is not on your FAFSA, yes. But if they are, then no. I think they said, now I'm looking for the question again. We need, you just want to double check that the UCSC is on your FAFSA, because if it's not on there, we won't get it. And if it's already been processed, that's totally fine. You just make a correction, you add UCSC and submit that correction, and then we'll get it. Did we lose Erin?
Hey everyone. Yes, it does look like Erin just logged off. So I see that. I'm trying to see if we are at time.
So Erin did say her internet just went down.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know where we left off on the questions. Do you, David? Or are you just answering?
I'm just going through and answering as many as I can. There's about 40 in the queue right now, so it's just trying to get to as many that we can.
So we still have a couple minutes left for live Q&A. So I can still keep feeding questions to you, just
Okay.
that's okay.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, perfect. So I had a question from the chat. A student asked, I submitted my FAFSA. Do I need to submit anything else to be considered for financial aid?
No, not right now. We just need your FAFSA, but if you're selected for verification, we'll notify you of what other documents you need to submit. But for a conditional aid offer, we don't need anything else, just your FAFSA.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. And I don't think this was answered yet, but it does say, are there any state or institutional funds, grants, loans available to out-of-state students?
Unfortunately, no. We're not able to use state funding unless you're a California resident. We do have the Dean's Award that helps with non-resident tuition, but that is merit-based, and you'll be notified through admissions if you're eligible for the Dean's Award, but unfortunately no state grants.
Perfect. Thank you, thank you. Okay, going through these here. Let's see. Going through them. Sorry about that. Oh, this is a good one. Does our financial aid increase if we are living on campus?
The cost, not necessarily. The cost of attendance is so close for the on and off campus. It's like basically the same now because of the housing prices in Santa Cruz, that it's not necessarily an increase. Just some things to keep in mind, like on-campus housing includes your utilities and food. So it might seem like, oh, this costs more than my rent off campus, but that's not including your food expenses or utilities. So you kind of have to weigh those options.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Not sure if this was covered in the presentation, so my apologies if it was, but a student asked, when and where will we get our FAFSA offer? To look at it, will I be able to accept it wherever it's found?
Yeah, so right now we're offering conditional aid offers and you're not able to accept it, but where you're gonna find it is on your student portal under the financial aid tile in the student center. We're gonna send you an email and tell you exactly how to get to it. And like I said, the conditional aid offer, you don't accept it because it's not your real financial aid offer. We don't produce official financial aid offers until after you submit your intent to register, and we prepare actual offers that you can accept or decline. And again, we'll notify you. Your official financial aid is offered, please accept your awards, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any questions standing out to anybody else? David, any of our admission folks? We still have a good couple minutes left for Q&As.
I'm looking through, there's just so many.
Mm-hmm.
I see one, how accurate is the conditional aid offer? It says accurate as the information provided on the FAFSA. So it's accurate based on the information that we have, but later, if you're selected for verification or we get a new transaction that comes through, it could change.
Okay. Perfect. Erin, that sounds good, Jessica. It looks like we got through a good chunk, whether it be through the Q&A or through live. So I see Erin is back online. I'm gonna pass over the torch to her.
I just real quick wanted just to say thank you guys so much for coming to, I know it's a lot of information, but please join us for financial aid Zoom or call us. Like, we want to help you make this decision as easy as possible. And we know finances is a big part of it. So please reach out. I did see a couple questions in the chat about the Peaster. So those students, like, please call us so we can give you more information on that. And then, okay, I'm officially done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica and David. David, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Jessica said. If you did want to reach out to us at this time of year, it is generally best to use Zoom or phones. The email is just a bit chaotic at this point, so trying to contact us directly is a more efficient route, even if there are quite a few people on hold at times. Tried to get as many questions in the queue as possible, but yeah, we've got over 50 now still in the queue, so just a lot of great questions, trying to provide as much information as possible.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again so much, Jessica and David. Sorry that I disappeared, but I'm back.
Okay.
I just knew you could handle it. So
Yeah, no, Jenny did a great job. She jumped right in and
yeah,
did the questions.
we're a good team. Thankful for Jenny. But yeah, thank you again. And for everyone else, I'm gonna walk us through next steps for admission. So you might be wondering to yourself, well, okay, I'm admitted. I've got some info on like financial aid. So like what's going to be next? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my presentation. So 1 second. Let's see. All right, let's get this going. Okay, so again, you're admitted. That's wonderful. So this is just a quick list to show you what I'm going to be covering in this part of the presentation. So you can see it's all the what's next steps. And again, please feel free to utilize the Q&A. We've got our admissions staff, so if anything comes up here that you have a question about, you can ask it along the way. I meant to say at the beginning that we are recording this session, and those of you that are registered, which you all did, because otherwise you wouldn't be here, then you're going to be sent a recording of the presentation sometime later, probably next week. So the very first step is that if you decide that we are the campus for you, then it's time to review and accept your offer of admission. So when you go through the process of accepting your offer, this is called the Statement of Intent to Register, or SIR, or SIR for short. You'll kind of hear those phrases thrown around. There are multiple steps to doing this, so I do have some screenshots just to highlight what that's going to look like. So you would start by clicking on the application status tile that you're going to see in your My UCSC portal. That's where you're going to want to go. And you'll be able to find your fall transfer admission decision box, and you can click now that you're admitted, what's next? You're going to have to review your conditions of admission contract as part of your SIR. So your offer for admissions is conditional. That means that you're responsible for continuing to meet any major requirements, GPA requirements, and UC transfer requirements. Some of you are still attending your community colleges, you're taking classes this spring. So finishing strong at your current college or university is also important for maintaining your offer. Also, if you are currently in your spring schedule and there's a change in your schedule that you didn't inform us about in your application update from back in January, or maybe you've gotten your final grades and you didn't pass a class, you do need to submit what's called a schedule change / grade issues form. You can see the link here on this slide. It can also be found on our admissions website, or you could ask for it in the Q&A and someone will drop it to you. Now, I know we got some questions about housing that came in and how to secure housing. So first of all, I'm excited to share, if you haven't heard already, that all new students, so that's freshmen, but also transfers because you're new to UCSC, you're guaranteed 1 year of on-campus housing for your first year. If you would like to take advantage of this offer and make sure that you are on the list for that, then when you're asked your housing preference during this SIR form, you need to select university housing. There is a $150 advanced housing fee that goes on top of that. But what I tell students is that, you know, it's much easier to turn down on-campus housing later down the line if it turns out that you don't need it and you've made different arrangements than it is to say no now and then try to secure a spot later down the line after this process. So if you think that you might want on-campus housing, I would highly recommend selecting it here in the SIR form. So those of you who don't want on-campus housing, or if you just have a different plan in mind, you can select off-campus housing. Our housing office does have a community rentals office that provides support, which is great for off-campus housing. I will say too that we do have family student housing if you are coming to UC Santa Cruz with a partner or with children. They have their own separate application process. So I know that it sounds counterintuitive, but if you're planning on applying for family student housing, then you would select off-campus housing. The university housing option here, that's for things like dorms and on-campus apartments, not the housing that is set up for families. So that's why you would select off-campus housing. On the note of housing, though, we do have transfer-specific housing. So most of our transfer community is located at Porter College on campus. Those are going to be dorm style for the most part, and they're close to our Services for Transfer and Reentry Students office, or STARS for short, and the Academic Resources Center. There are also apartment options in what's called Redwood Grove on campus. There's the University Town Center, which has some spots that is located actually in downtown Santa Cruz. And then, like I said, there is family student housing on campus. That's their own living community altogether. This is another important screenshot I wanted to make sure that you saw. Basically, when you go through the entire SIR process and you've paid deposits, you should get to this page that says, success, your congratulations, you're a UC Santa Cruz student. It might take up to 24 hours for your application status on your portal to change, but you want to make sure that you saw this page. If you didn't, I would recommend going through the SIR form again and making sure that you get all the way to this point. You can always reach out to us if you're worried about technical difficulties and wanting to make sure that that SIR form is going through. So once you have submitted your statement of intent to register, which for transfers is June 1st, you're going to want to make sure that you meet all the deadlines and conditions of admission to maintain your status as an admitted UC Santa Cruz student. So these are just some general dates, pointing out some important ones. July 1st, that's when official records are due. So that would be your official transcripts. July 15th, that's when official test scores are due. I know some of you are coming in with AP exams. You will get emails and be able to see this on your portal, so you don't have to memorize all of these dates now, but you do need to make sure that you're meeting those deadlines. So like I said, your portal is going to be where the university lists documents or info that's required from you. So for example, admissions will put on your to-do list that you need to submit your transcripts. Financial aid might list if they need any additional verification documents. I would recommend checking your to-do list on the portal regularly, as well as your UCSC email. You're going to want to start utilizing that if you haven't done that already, because that's where most of your communications are going to be. Something else that's going to happen on your transfer journey is the slug orientation. So slug orientation is an academic program that's designed to make sure that you start strong from day one. Slug orientation is something that's mandatory for all new students, and it consists of completing a series of online courses during June, July, and August. Meeting those deadlines that I was just talking about, and a full participation in Fall Welcome Week, which happens right before classes start. I do want to say slug orientation is online and asynchronous, so you don't have to change your summer plans or, move to Santa Cruz in June. It's something that you can do mostly at your own pace, but there will be certain due dates and deadlines that you just need to pay attention to. It'll also tell you a lot about UC Santa Cruz, what resources and clubs and support systems to be aware of. And the slug orientation is also how you secure an enrollment appointment for registering for your fall classes. And again, the orientation will go into a lot more detail on how to do that, how to plan for your major, what would be good to take, all that stuff. Something that's optional, but pretty cool, is our Summer Edge program. So you're welcome to take classes during the summer. And one of our summer sessions has the opportunity for new students to live on campus in the dorms. So you'll be with other fellow new students. You'll have student residential assistants and peer mentors. It's a great way to get acclimated to the campus ahead of time, and you also get a head start on your degree. So that's optional, but it is a pretty cool way to start your time at UC Santa Cruz. And then move-in and welcome week, that's going to be moving in. Obviously, if you're moving in on campus, you'll get a special date and time letting you know when your window is to do that. But welcome week is filled with a lot of important activities and sessions for new students that are living on and off campus. So in September, you will get an email to your UCSC account that's going to invite you to download an app if you have a smartphone, and it'll provide you with the full welcome week schedule. There are some mandatory sessions that are part of that. You will get more information from housing if you're living on campus. But again, even if you're living off campus, you'll get that schedule. And you can always ask in orientation as well. Now, those are the logistics and sort of the next steps to expect when you're transitioning to UC Santa Cruz. I just wanted to highlight some of our support systems that exist for you as transfer students. So there are multiple avenues for support on campus, but specifically for transfer students, we have the STARS office. So that stands for Services for Transfer and Reentry Students. And the STARS mission is to advance social mobility for transfer, reentry, and independent students by providing transformative higher education experiences. So STARS works with students that have been at the community colleges, who've transferred in from other universities. They work with students who are coming back to school at an older age, students who are parents themselves, and also students that have experienced growing up in foster care, students who have experienced homelessness or incarceration or family trauma. Basically, the STARS office is amazing and they're a wonderful resource. They offer counseling, peer mentoring, community events, and they're overall really focused on your care and growth while you're at UC Santa Cruz. And some other support systems that exist on campus are going to be academic. So our colleges have an academic advising team that provides support in transitioning to the university and being aware of your requirements. Your major and your minor departments also have staff advisors that can help you out and help you plan courses for your major or minor. And they also work really closely with the faculty in your major, so they can make lots of cool recommendations for connecting with them, getting internships, being more involved in the department, things like that. We also have learning support services. We have a career center, a disability resource center, EOP, and academic excellence programs at UCSC. So lots in the world of academic support. And so, we also have a health clinic on campus. It includes a pharmacy. We also have a counseling and mental health department that offers mental health services. We do have an on-campus police and fire station, as well as evening safety patrols. We also have 42 blue lights on campus. Those are stations that you can use to call somebody if you need assistance with anything. And we also have a safe ride program. So we know that safety looks like a lot of different things to everybody, but UC Santa Cruz does have a wide range of services to make sure that you feel supported and safe while you are on campus with us. So those are all the next steps. Thanks for hanging in there for my slides. But we hope to see you in the fall. Again, big congrats for those of you that got in. It's truly wonderful. We would love to keep in touch with you. You can see some social media links there. I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing so that myself and my admissions colleagues, we can maybe bring some questions up live and answer those. And I have not been looking at the Q&A, so feel free to let me know.
Hi, Erin. Thank you for that. So we've had a couple of questions on the chat, basically asking about the UC Santa Cruz Gmail. So I do have some insight on this. Is it okay if I step in
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so your UC Santa Cruz email will be available to you once you have accepted your offer of admissions at Santa Cruz, and it's normally like a couple of business days after that. So you'll be able to log in with your UC Santa Cruz credentials. And yeah, and I'm happy to provide the link in the chat in a bit. But I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add on that.
Thanks, Jenny. I see a couple questions about dorms. So someone had asked, you know, on-campus housing typically means dorms. Is that true? Someone was saying, you know, I hear there are dorms that house 3 people. So yes, the majority of our housing is dorm style. We do have those apartment options, but if we're talking numbers, then yeah, majority are dorms, and those look for the most part like triple rooms. So it'd be you and 2 other roommates, or single rooms. So if you indicate that you are interested in on-campus housing, you'll start to get follow-ups from housing after that time. It probably won't be immediately after you turn in your SIR form, but you'll start to get information on how to fill out your preferences. You'll also be able to fill out things like a roommate questionnaire, so you can hopefully be matched with people that have similar living styles to you. So that is something I just wanted to answer in general, like, yes, mostly dorms, but you can also list your preferences and say that you'd like to be in an apartment or you'd like to be in a single room. I also saw a question asking if the Village is a transfer housing option. So the Village is a community on campus that's for continuing students. So incoming transfers aren't able to apply for the Village, at least for your first year. That is something you could apply for, because you can apply to keep living on campus, and you could apply for the Village then. Jenny, did you see any questions as I look through?
Looking through them right now. Terry's answering one, a good one on an academic advisor. So as you're doing your orientation, right, you're actually going to have an advising appointment. So you'll be able to connect with them there. That will be one of the first interactions. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that, but that will be coming with orientation.
Yeah, orientation is definitely going to be your hub of information for getting you acclimated. So I saw a question saying, you know, if we're granted a single apartment, what are the chances we could keep it the entire time? So the apartments are made up of different types of rooms. So one of those rooms might be a single. And if you mean the entire time, as in your entire time at UCSC, for you to get a degree, you do have to reapply for housing. So you do have that guarantee for the first year, but you would have to reapply. So hopefully that that answers your question. And I'm also seeing a question about the housing in Porter. So the housing in Porter is dorm style. The apartment options for transfers are in Redwood Grove, which is not specifically in Porter. All right, my admissions colleagues, if you see a question you want to bring up, please shout it out. I am also looking at the Q&A.
Well, I would like to add that students are asking how they can access their UC Santa Cruz Gmail. So basically, you go to the Gmail login page and you type in your UC Santa Cruz credentials, and you should be able to access it that way.
Someone was asking what's the last day we should expect to hear from housing after submitting an SIR. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I will say if you fill out your SIR to completion and you've selected on-campus housing, paid that advance fee deposit, which is part of completing your SIR, you're on their list and they will contact you. You could reach out if you're starting to feel nervous, but I want to reassure you that that's how they get you in their communication zone. So I don't know the last date that you would expect to hear from them, but they will be contacting you for sure.
I'll just add to that. It should be within a couple of weeks after your SIR deadline. So mid-June-ish. Keep an eye on your email for next steps from housing.
Thanks, Terry.
And orientation. I'll say they'll both be reaching out about the same time via email a couple of weeks after your SIR deadline.
Great.
Erin, can I add something?
Yeah, please.
I saw a lot of questions about transcripts, and I just want to share to all students that the deadline to submit your transcripts will be July 1st. All transcripts should be postmarked by that date, and any students that have AP exams that they need to report as well, those scores should also be submitted or postmarked by July 1st. We recommend waiting until you have received your final grades for your spring term courses. However, if that's going to be an issue, just please communicate with us as soon as possible so that we can work with you. And then for any students taking additional summer classes that are not needed for their admission requirements, we still recommend that you submit your transcripts by July 1st and then follow up with an additional transcript later in the summertime. So I just wanted to share that.
Thanks so much, Cynthia. I'm sure some of you can probably see in the Q&A, our colleague Renee Sharp from admissions is also chiming in with some answers. So hi, Renee. Let's see. Someone asked, do I need to apply for EOP if I'm currently in my college's EOPS program? Do any of my colleagues know the answer to that?
Sorry, Erin, can you repeat the question? I was reading another question.
No problem. So does someone need to apply for EOP at UC Santa Cruz if they're currently in their community college's EOPS program?
They should have had an opportunity to apply in the UC application. If they were not invited into the program, I believe they will have another opportunity to apply once they're at UC Santa Cruz. But yes, it's not automatic. You won't automatically be enrolled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I'll add too is, part of your first couple weeks for the fall quarter, there's going to be a big event called Cornucopia, which is on our very large field on campus, our one big large field. And that's where a lot of different student orgs and clubs and also academics and support groups table, and you can meet them, sign up, get on their email lists, ask questions. So there are some great events as fall is kicking off to get you connected in. I do see a question asking, will your offer of admission be rescinded if you fail a class, even if you reported it through the schedule change form? So that's a good question. If you received a poor grade in your, current spring semester and you've submitted that form, it does get reviewed by a committee within our admissions department, and they will let you know how or if it impacts your admissions offer. So if you've already submitted the form at this point, you do need to wait for the turnaround time for them to get back to you. But that is under their review at this point. It is at least a couple of weeks. I believe it tells you how long to wait, but it is a little bit of a wait to hear back, but you need to wait to hear from that official committee if you've submitted the form.
So I have seen this come up a bit in the chat as well. So just as a heads up, if there has been changes to your schedule, maybe there's a failing grade, you will have to notify us as the Office of Admissions, because then we get to, contact you with next steps to see if there is any impact with admissions. So we will be linking that in the chat in a bit. But basically it's the schedule change / grade issues form. And we'll be putting that in the chat for you shortly.
Thanks, Jenny. I see a question asking, is there a program similar to Guardian Scholars for former foster youth? And the answer is yes. That is called our Renaissance Scholars Program. They might be changing their name to Resilience Scholars, but kind of same idea. But yes, they are one of the programs that are housed under STARS, which I talked about in my slides. So they are there for former and current foster youth, also formerly incarcerated students or students who have experienced homelessness. So yes, that group exists. It's Renaissance Scholars, and that's who you would look out for when you come on campus. We have a couple more minutes, so let's see.
I
And-
have seen, oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Nope, you go.
I've seen a few questions about orientation. And just to clarify, Banana Slug Day is different from your summer orientation. Banana Slug Day is an event for admitted students, similar to an open house where you can come on campus and meet staff, meet other admitted students, connect with the departments, etc. The summer orientation program is required of all newly admitted students. It is an online kind of course. And that will be available later on, likely in June, I believe at the end of June. So I just wanted to clarify that for students.
Thanks so much, Cynthia. Yes, we know it's a lot of things to remember, and we throw a lot of different steps and programs your way. So these are great questions. Let's see. I know, yeah, some people have submitted the form asking about kind of the odds. Again, you need to wait for an evaluator to get back to you. They go through their own process, so we can't share odds at this time because we wouldn't know. But yeah, wait to hear back from them and they can let you know next steps.
I just would like to add, I know we're gonna wrap up in a bit. It is a lot of information, right? And I do want to include in the chat some important dates to kind of keep track of. I have found this website to be very helpful for myself. It includes like orientation, housing, financial aid, all that good stuff in that website. So I'll include it. And also we're here to support you. So whether it be just our Office of Admissions, your admissions representative, the financial aid office even, we're here to support you through this process. So I know it can seem like a lot, but you do have people here that are rooting for you.
Thanks so much, Jenny. We actually are at time, but I think that's a beautiful sentiment to end on. And just to echo what Jenny said, we are here for you. You can reach out to your admissions rep and ask questions about next steps. A lot of us offer one-on-one Zoom appointments. We can talk to you in more detail, similar also to what financial aid said. We do want to connect with you and we want to help you feel oriented and like all those things on your to-do list, what they are, and hopefully help you feel organized enough so you also can feel excited about coming to UC Santa Cruz. Because again, it's an exciting thing and we're so happy to have you. But thank you for coming to Transfer Friday. We're going to close out, but we will send the recording out probably sometime next week. So you'll be able to look at slides from financial aid and the slides that we shared. But until then, friends, just reach out if you have any questions. All right. Take care.